On May 12, 1997, I was working as a laborer on a construction site. I was crushed to death by a cement tilt-up wall for a trash enclosure. Approximately 2.5 to 3 ton cement wall. I was trying to run up an embankment to safety after hearing my foreman shouting stop 3 times. And seeing the cement truck back into the wall. I was struck in the head and immediately went down to the ground with the wall on top of me. My hard hat saved me from having a more serious head injury. As I lay stunned and numb on the ground pinned against the earth with the wall on top of me, I heard my foreman running up the hill shouting my name until he was there looking under the wall calling my name. I tried to respond and then realized that I could not talk. It was at that moment that I suddenly felt this immense weight on me pressing me into the ground. I could not expand my lungs at all to get a breath. I heard him run off calling into his radio for help. I lay there in stunned silence and could not believe what had happened so fast. My life flashed in front of me as I lay there under the wall. I began thinking about my life. And how I had been a bad person based on the Christian way I was raised to obey God's commandments. I did not want to die, I was not ready to die, I prayed to God for help. Suddenly the daylight quickly faded to complete blackness, I had run out of oxygen. I was alone and scared in complete darkness when suddenly I saw a little tiny pinpoint of light. As I stared at it, the light became brighter and larger and closer like I was moving toward it. Or it was coming to me very rapidly from a far distance away. Until it was so large and bright it was like a wall of light. Proceeding into the light I was immediately filled with the light, the most amazing peace, warmth and joy. I have never felt such an amazing feeling ever in my life. My eyes adjusted to the brilliant bright light. And I realized that I had entered into a magnificent splendid giant hall or building. The walls emanated this pure bright light and filled everything it touched. So that there not a shadow, sad or mean thought could exist, just pure love and joy. Looking around I noticed that this grand hall was filled with people, hundreds or thousands of people. I was floating in over the top of them, wow. I thought to myself, I'm at some kind of a big ball or party. Coming down closer and closer I could see how happy everyone was and could feel a buzz of excitement. The people were together in groups talking among themselves. Everyone was so happy and existed like in great anticipation. Everyone was clothed in a pure white gown from their necks to their feet and glowed with the same light. Everyone was a young adult, there were no children or old people present. I later realized that this must have been a receiving area. For family members to come and meet their relatives coming back into the real world. When they leave the earthly plane of existence. Kind of like an airport. Floating down to a small group they suddenly turned around. As if they could hear me coming or someone had announced my arrival. I recognized a beautiful woman with long flowing black hair and fair skin. She looked just like pictures of my mother when she was 19 years old. I was later told that my grandmother looked just like my mother when she was young. I had only met my grandmother once or twice when she was an old woman living in France and she had died in the 1980s. I did not recognize the other people standing there with her but felt we were family relations. We were so happy to see each other. She took us all aside to sit down and talk, she told me that I had to go back. I said no way. I'm not going anywhere. She continued to insist that I must go back but I was very stubborn. Had never been in such a wonderful place and did not want to leave. She explained to me that I could come back, all I have to do is be a good person and be good to other people. That's easy, I thought. Then she told me I must leave now. Because my body on Earth was running out of oxygen and I had to return. And figure out how to get oxygen or everyone would die, people were counting on me. I did not want to let them down and always want to help rescue people, so I went back and solved the oxygen problem. It was then that I took my first breath. They had gotten the wall off me, I had been under the wall for 8 to 10 minutes and should have been dead. Later I spoke with a friend and he told me that he was holding me so that I would not slide down the hill. He said I was completely blue and not breathing. He was talking to me, telling me that everything would be all right when my body suddenly went into convulsions. I coughed up a bunch of blood and started breathing on my own. Somehow, I was able to resuscitate myself. I remember being in unbelievable pain. It hurt to breath. I had to take short breaths. The paramedics were asking a bunch of questions. It hurt too much to talk. The helicopter got louder and louder. That was the last thing I remember. I spent 3 months in the hospital, hooked up to life support, in a drug-induced coma for 1.5 months. I fought for my life and had other out-of-body and life-after-death experiences while there in the hospital. In one of the experiences, I went to a dark, terrible place completely opposite from the light, joyful place, confirming my belief that there is a place for good people and a different place for bad people to go to after we leave our earthly body. I now do not fear death but strive to be a good person and do good to others.